Welcome back to Beat the Recession Marketing. I'm James Carley, and you're watching Market Analysis. In the last section, we learned how the buying process works. All that's left is researching your market and to figure out just who your ideal customers are. When you're identifying what your ideal customers' needs are and what they're looking for, this will help you paint a picture as you're developing your market's customer avatar. Now, a customer avatar is just a personified picture of what your ideal customer looks like. You can do this using many tools, but there's two main tools that I love to use. The first one is Google AdWord Planner, and the second one is Quantcast. The Google AdWord tool, if you don't already know, keeps track of all the search queries that are entered into Google.com. Nowadays, whenever we want to look for some information online and offline, what do? We take out our smartphones and we Google it, right? I mean, Googling something has even become a catchphrase. Whenever you're looking for something, what does someone always tell you to do? Google it, right? I mean, it's amazing how much times have changed. Google today is like having the yellow pages combined with an encyclopedia in your pocket. The amazing thing is how Google records all this data for future use inside of their AdWords campaigns, which is just their paid advertising platform. Having access to this search information is priceless because it saves us years of doing customer surveys and analysis and focus groups and things like that for ourselves, all because it reveals the needs and the mind of your market directly to you. You just need to know what you're looking at and how to interpret the data. I'm also going to show you how to research your market using Facebook Open Graph to find hyper-targeted prospects, and how to use Google Trends as well. But I'm saving that to part 2 of the market analysis. But for now, let's look at Google and Quantcast. It's important to remember we're going to leverage this data not from an SEO perspective, but rather to get a better understanding of just how big our market is, if there's any commercial content, which is just saying, are the people spending money as far as in advertising, and exactly how many people are looking for you within the marketplace itself. Remember, we're putting the customer first, and our goal is to add real value that will build real relationships. That being said, let's say for an example, I was a local restaurant in San Diego, California. Now this could be any profession, any product or service, and I wanted to know just how many people in San Diego were looking for my product or my services. A quick side note, if you look at the screen, it's important to point out the first thing that pops up when a consumer starts to look for you online. Can you see it? It's your reputation. Look at all these customer reviews and review sites that pop up now when your customers are trying to learn about your company. We're going to cover this later during What's My Reputation module. I just wanted to point that out to you. But back to finding out how many customers are looking for you. What you want to do is go to the Google AdWord Planner and sign up for a free account. If you don't know where that is, you can just Google it and it'll pop right up. But once you signed up for a free account, you just want to enter into the search field what keyword or what search term you think that your ideal customer would search for when they're looking for you. Normally, you can do this by entering in the city that you're in plus your profession or your service. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do this since we're just researching at this stage. But the more targeted you are with your search terms, the better result ideas you're going to get with a whole lot less competition, because you're not going where everyone is, right? So the trick is to think about all the pains and frustrations, the wants, the needs that your customer would face that would make them search for any particular keyword that would bring a solution that your product or your service would provide them. When you hit search, all the information returned is proof of the amount of searches people offline are turning online looking for you. Now, these keywords, I like to think of them as code words for your market has a problem or a need. So instead of someone going to you or going to a friend and asking a question, we are now turning online for answers. This is powerful stuff, because if you ever wanted to know if there was a demand for your business's products or services, guess what? Now you know. And because we're all about smart marketing, this will eliminate the guesswork of you bringing something to life and there's no demand for it in your marketplace. The tool I'm using here is called Google Trends, and I'm using it to dig deeper to help me further correlate our data. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to use it in part 2 of this training. Since we now know for a fact that people are looking for us, let's continue to use Google's help to determine the size of our market. The easiest way to do that is by looking at the AdWord Planner to see what keywords closely relate to your business. Next, you want to export those keywords you found to a CSV file. After you've downloaded the file to your desktop, you want to go ahead and open up that file and begin to highlight all the closely related keywords to your business. And when you're done highlighting those keywords, you want to go ahead and add up the ones you highlighted. This total is going to represent just how big or how small your market is and the search interest online according to Google. And since they're a multi-billion-dollar company who makes millions of dollars off of these keywords, I think it's safe for us to trust this data. Now, I know there's all kind of questions going through your mind, and you may be asking yourself, what's the point of all this? The point of this is that when it comes to marketing or setting up a marketing campaign that you're going to be investing money into, you need to know what it's worth. You need to know if spending money to acquire customers is going to be profitable. You need to know, well, how much money should I spend on marketing? Should I set a cap, or what's my budget? You need to know what type of promotional offers to offer your prospects. You need to know what type of devices are people using to find your products or your services. Without knowing this information, you're driving blind. And hopefully you can see why the successful companies in your market are actually successful, because they've taken the time to do this process. Now, this process is not going to cost you money. It's just going to cost you time. And it's very imperative that you do this process of actually figuring out what your marketing campaign is worth, especially the last step of knowing what type of devices people are using. Because not only is this last step really cool, it's highly important, because the goal of every business should be, how do I stay relevant and connected to my customers? Statistics show that over 5 billion searches are done daily on Google, and over 30% of those searches are performed on mobile devices such as, smartphones and tablets. They've become the world's new favorite gadgets. So it's imperative that you understand that your customers have gone mobile. And if you look at these statistics on the screen, they will show you just how active your customers are, what type of businesses and services they're looking for, all while using mobile. Things have changed. So should your business. This information is important to know because it indicates whether you need to have both a desktop and mobile website or some type of landing page for your marketing campaigns, so you'll never miss an opportunity for new business. And I kid you not, this little tweak can increase your sales by 10 to 15% just because you're being mobile friendly. So I want you to stop and ask yourself, how does your website look on a mobile device? Going forward, I want you to remember some tips about the Google AdWord Planner. I want you to remember that these numbers aren't 100% exact, so you can filter your results to get the best case and worst case scenario, but please don't make this too deep. We're just using this information to determine that people are actually looking for us, that there's an actual demand in our marketplace for what we're trying to offer. So now that you know what the Google AdWord Planner tool can do, Here's how you use the tool to determine the needs, the wants, and the questions that are inside your market. Now, this is a big deal because this is where majority of businesses and entrepreneurs do things backwards. I want to illustrate this point to you by giving you an example of a normal business startup. So let's say, for an example, there was a woman named Susan, and Susan was a popular local pastry chef in San Diego. And one day, Susan had this great idea to revolutionize fruitcakes by turning them into cupcakes. Now, doesn't sound like a bad idea. That sounds like it would actually work. So Susan next decides to, you know what, let me shoot this idea off my friends and my family and to see what they think. And most of them really liked her idea, and some of them even love her idea. So Susan's all pumped up, and then she decides, you know what, I'm going to bring this idea to life. Then Susan next, because now she's feeling really confident about her idea, she goes to take out a business loan or borrows money to invest into her idea. Finally, once her business launched, she soon realized that the demand for her product wasn't quite there. And because the demand wasn't quite there, her business results in few or no sales. Now, I want to ask you, why did this happen? Why did Susan's business not make any sales? Was it because her idea wasn't any good? No, not at all. It sounded like a great idea. Was it because people didn't want what she had to offer? No, not at all. Her family and her friends were very supportive of what she had to offer. Was it because she didn't properly study her market? Yes, absolutely. Here's the eye-opener. Oftentimes, we ask our family, colleagues, and our friends what they think about our ideas. Now, this is fine and there's nothing wrong with that. But we have to remember that our friends and family are not our ideal customers. Now, they may buy from you, they may support you, but when it comes to business, they are not your targeted market. In other words, just because you have a great idea doesn't mean that there's a market for it. That's why it's crucial before starting any campaign, we must do our homework, so we don't try to force feed the market something that they don't want. Doing this will save both time and money, not including all the stress and frustration we would have from having a failed campaign. Next, to determine the needs of your market, we must get inside the mind of your customer. We must think like them. I'm talking about really placing ourselves in their shoes. Remember, we're putting the customer before the sale in order for us to create that valued product or service that will answer their question or solve their problem. Now, the way to accomplish this is by making a list of questions they may have about your products or your services. Another great thing to make a list of is, what problems does your product or service actually solve that your customer will want to know about? And the last thing, which is a really good idea, is what type of industry questions about your profession are customers concerned about or they wonder about frequently? And those are things you want to add to the list. All of this is easy to do. You can find this information by doing a little data mining research. And the quickest way to do that is by visiting things like your related blogs in your industry. And when you visit these blogs, what you want to look at is the type of topics that they're talking about and actually writing about. And another good indicator that your ideal market is interested in that is looking at the comments, actually reading those comments and seeing what's being addressed and what kind of topics are coming up. Those are always good things to go ahead and jot down, because if your market is actually asking a question, chances are other people are concerned about it as well. Another great thing to do is to visit forums. And when you visit industry-related forums, what you want to look at is popular thread discussions. So similar to the blog post where it has a lot of comments, that's an indicator that it's actually popular, that whatever topic that is, people are highly interested. Well, the same thing goes for a thread. When you see a thread that not only has hundreds and hundreds of not only posts but reads, that's an indicator that you may want to pay attention to what's being addressed. Really, you just want to think out of the box. You want to think about anywhere social that your ideal market might actually hang out. And you just want to visit those types of places and see if you can extract some little golden nuggets that'll help you relate to your market a little bit more. I've also included a few spreadsheets in the resource and bonus section that you can enter your keywords onto that'll help you build a list of possible questions and wants and desires of your market. And then after you make that list, you want to go back to the Google AdWord Planner, and then you want to enter that information in so you can see the volume that are behind those actual questions and keywords. Now make sure when you get your results that you save those keywords to a CSV file for future usage. The key here is to remember that our greatest asset in this whole equation is our brain and not the tools. Finding ways just to think out of the box and create that value really shows when your customers love your products or your services. This is what keeps them coming back again and again and sharing your products or services with their friends. This type of social proof reveals to your customers that you honestly care about them. And that's what today's marketing is really all about, the relationship. Well, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to learn how to identify your ideal customer.